Okay, welcome everyone to our introductory driver training for AOBRD mode. We're going to give a few more minutes here to let people log on and join before we start our tour of the KeepTruckin app. So hang tight for a few minutes here. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So here's a list of all the items that we want to review today. I'm going to be showing this all on our KeepTruckin app. If you do have any questions while I'm going through this tour, feel free to put your questions in the live chat box in the top right-hand corner, and we will try to get to as many of those questions during our Q&A at the end. So I'm just going to switch my screen over to show my app on my phone. And the first thing we're going to talk about is connecting your mobile device to your ELD. So you can tell if you're connected to the ELD if you look in the top right-hand corner. Here you see it says no vehicle. So prior to driving, you're always going to want to select and connect to the ELD device so that drive time will be put on your logs. So I'm going to go ahead and tap on the no vehicle. It's going to bring me to the select vehicle tab, and you're going to see all of the vehicles listed under your company. You're going to want to head and select the vehicle that you're in. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap on that. It's going to take a minute. You just saw that screen saying connecting to ELD. And then now you can see in the top right-hand corner, it has the vehicle name. And then the most important part is that little ELD green symbol. When it's green, that means you have a successful connection. If it's blue or blinking blue, that means that your device is trying, or your mobile device is trying to connect via Bluetooth with the ELD. So make sure that is green prior to driving. And just if I pop over here really quick on my other screen, not only do you want to make sure that you have that green ELD symbol in the top right-hand corner of your app, but if you're looking at the ELD device itself, you can see on the right there is a light, and when it's red, that means it's not connected to your app, and when it is green, that is showing the successful connection. And while we're on this picture, of course, the light on the left-hand side indicates that you have a successful signal from our GPS satellite. Okay. And while we're on this topic of connecting to your ELD device, for those out there that have Android phones or tablets, please note that you guys can connect to the ELD with your USB cord. You simply just have to plug it into the ELD device. It will ask you if it's okay to transfer data, and you can go ahead and click OK. Otherwise, it'll just charge your phone. So that's another way to go ahead and connect to the ELD. Again, this is only for Android users because we experienced that older Android phones had a harder time with their Bluetooth connectivity. Apple users are only using with their Bluetooth. All right, so moving back to the app. Now that you've successfully connected to your ELD device, normally what you would do is go in and change your duty status. So to change your duty status, you go to the top left-hand corner where it says off-duty current status. You're going to go ahead and select that, and it'll bring you to the change duty status page, and it'll offer 4 different duty statuses that you can change to. So I'm going to go ahead and click on duty. It's already populated my location, but if you need to have that updated, go ahead and click that little navigation icon. It populated my location. And then, of course, you can always put in the notes, what you're doing. And if it recognizes it, it'll populate for you. So just make note that it's really important to make sure that your location is updated when you're changing from different duty statuses. I'm going to go ahead and click Save in the top right-hand corner. And now it's moved my line to the 4th line for my on-duty time. Okay, so let's go ahead really quick and click into today's log. So I'm going to actually just click on the graph itself. And it's going to take me to today and all of my events that I have made for today. The one thing that I do want to point out is you're going to have to go into your form. So right now you're in your log, and you'll see on the top of the screen you have log, form, sign, and inspection. So for your form, make sure that you've entered your vehicle, your trailer information. You can go ahead and leave those 2 blank because those 2 fields, the distance and odometer, will be automatically populated by the ELD. And just make sure that all of your log form information is up to date for each day. We do populate the information from the previous day, but it is the driver's responsibility to make sure that is up to date every day. Here is where you can sign, and it will automatically populate that for you as well. And then you can go into inspection. This used to be called DVIR, but we've recently updated it now to say inspection. And here you can add your inspection by clicking this blue plus icon in the bottom right-hand corner. All right, so now that we've made sure that our log is good, our form is filled out properly, and we've done our inspection, we are going to go ahead and go into Drive. So we're connected to the ELD. Normally what happens is when you go into over 5 miles per hour, we're going to register that from the ECM, and it's going to put you into Drive. When you're into Drive, your screen will go into this lock mode, and it'll show your remaining time that you have to drive until you become in violation. So you can see that at the bottom it shows driving, and it shows a lock on there. It'll give you the countdown. You can also click the bottom left-hand corner, and it'll give you actually all of your time for your shift. So it'll give you multiple clocks of your drive time, your shift time, and your cycle. And we also, on the bottom right-hand corner, have night mode. So that's kind of nice for people who don't want that bright light in their eyes. Okay, once you stop your vehicle and it's stationary, it takes 3 seconds of it being stationary for us to register that your vehicle is stationary. At that time, you'll see that the lock symbol has left the driving icon, and you can select it and put in your new current duty status. So I'll go ahead and put going into yard move, or I'm sorry, on duty. I have my location populated, and I can add any notes that I would like to add. Okay, so the one thing that we're really going to stress today for this driver training is that we need, or the FMCSA has said that you have to specify which special driving status you are in prior to the driving event so that it is recorded correctly. So the way you do that is by clicking on the current duty status up in the top left-hand corner, and you'll see here that it gives you off-duty, sleeper, and on-duty. So for yard moves, which is an on-duty driving event, you would select on-duty, and then this box at the bottom comes up that says Enable Yard Move. You need to go ahead and select Enable Yard Move, and then very important, make sure to save that setting at the top right-hand corner. And then this green bar will appear at the very top of your logs saying that you are yard move enabled. So once you put your vehicle in drive, which I'm going to do right now, and you go over 5 miles per hour, it's going to put you into yard move. So now this drive time will be recorded on your on-duty line and will not go towards your driving hours of service. You'll see that there is no countdown because that's not going towards your driving hours of service. And then once you go ahead and stop, it's the same exact thing. It'll, in the top left-hand corner, you can see it'll register in motion, and then it'll change to stationary. And at that point, you can change your duty status. So while we're here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the other special driving status, which is personal conveyance. Personal conveyance you can find in the off-duty duty status option. You click Enable for personal conveyance, just like you did for yard move. And then you click Save. Now, just to make a note here, when you are changing your driving statuses, we recommend that you always make a note. I'm going to say this over and over again so that you, when you're pulled over, there is no question about why you were in this special duty status. It's already there for the officer to see. Go ahead and make notes of why you're in personal conveyance. So go ahead and click Save. Again, you'll see that green driving bar up there saying that you are enabled for personal conveyance. And then when you start driving, you'll see the same exact thing. It's putting you into a lock screen with personal conveyance and no countdown. Okay, so again, if you guys have any questions regarding these two driving statuses, please put them into our live chat box at the top right-hand corner, and we'll make sure to try and address all of them as much as possible. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead into off-duty. Okay, now that we've shown you how to get into these driving statuses and special driving statuses, I want to show you something really important that I think every driver is going to use on a daily, if not every other day basis, and that is editing your logs. So if you click again on today's graph, it's going to show you all of your events underneath your graph that you have done for the day. And if there's something that you did incorrectly, or if you need to change, what you're going to do is you select that driving event or that duty status. So if you click on it, see how it gives you this edit button on the left-hand side? Go ahead and click on that. And what it's going to do is give you options of what time you want to change it to. You can either change the time using this black flag at the top, and you can move it around to where you want to adjust the time frame, or you can use the start and end time slots to go ahead and select which time frame you want to change it to. If you want it to be a little bit more precise, we can even go down to the second. Which will be very important for some of you out there. So once you've gone ahead and selected what you want to change, click Done, change it to the duty status that you want to change it to. So let's go ahead and say maybe we were in sleeper. Go ahead and make sure your location and your notes are saved correctly, and then click Save. And we have just changed that on-duty event to sleeper berth. And you can see that it's moved it to the sleeper berth line. Okay, and the next thing that I wanted to show you guys briefly was if you guys want to reclassify driving events. So let's say you have this driving event for 16 seconds right here, and that was my commute home. I have an excellent commute here in San Francisco. You click Edit. And you're going to see here that it's going to give you two options of to change to location, or change your location and your notes, pick which driving status you're in, and save. Okay. So if you have any questions again regarding editing logs, it's pretty straightforward. However, if you don't see something here that you want to add, you can always click the bottom right-hand corner plus icon. You can add a remark, which is simply putting in a flag at some point anywhere on your log. And if you want to make a note So add a location, add the note of why you're adding in that remark, and click Save. And then if you wanted to do insert a past duty status, you can click on the little scissors, and that'll allow you to insert a duty status of whatever point you wanted to edit your log. Okay. So we're about halfway through. Thanks, guys, for sticking it through. There's a lot to go through on this app, but I'm hoping you guys are finding it useful thus far. The next thing we want to go over is the unidentified driving events. So let me go ahead and move over to my other presentation here. And sorry if this is a little bit small, but you'll get the gist of it. We have here what happens if you drive your vehicle without connecting your mobile device to the ELD. So as you're driving, even though you're not connected to it, the ELD is collecting all that drive time and data, and it's just storing it on the ELD. But once you connect to that ELD, this yellow bar, which you see highlighted in red on the left-hand side, will pop up and will tell you how many driving events there are and the time frame in the past week. If you click on the bar, it'll take you to the second image, and it'll give you all of the information regarding that driving event: the duration, the distance, the origin, and the final destination. If this is yours, you're going to want to click at the very bottom, Claim Driving Event. Now, keep in mind, if this isn't yours, do not claim it, because then it'll be put on your logs, and it kind of will take some editing on your part, or probably the fleet manager, to help you out. So if it's not yours, just click the back arrow at the top left-hand corner. But again, if it is yours, you can click Claim, and then as you see on the right-hand side, it'll say that in green, driving event claimed, and it'll put that driving event onto your logs. So that's unidentified driving events. Now, let's say your fleet manager makes an edit to one of your logs. Similar to unidentified driving events, on this next page here, you'll see, first you'll get a notification. Same thing, a yellow bar at the top of your logs page, and it'll have the date and who created it, or which fleet manager of yours created it. If you select it, it'll show you the edited log. It'll highlight it in yellow what they changed and what your log will look like for that day. And you have the option with the red X or the green check mark to accept or reject this log. So just to keep that in mind, that you, even if your fleet manager does make a suggested edit, it has to be confirmed by the driver to have that go onto their log. Okay, now that we've done the unidentified driving events and fleet manager edits, the next thing we wanted to show you was bulk sign. So as you know, for every day that you drive, you have to sign your logs, but it is also required that you sign your logs for the days that you have not driven as well. So what we've done here is, instead of having to go into each day, click on the log, and then go into sign and click sign, we've tried to make it a lot easier and quicker for you guys, because we know that you're all busy people out there just like everyone else and have things to do. All you have to do is click on that little, it's kind of hard to see, but that box on the top right-hand corner of your log, and you can actually select as multiple days logs, just as I'm doing so for all the days that you need to sign. So as you can see, I've been really bad and haven't signed any of my logs. And then at the top here, it'll say sign, print, or send. Just go ahead and click sign, click save, and now all of your logs are signed for today. So just a little tip, but I think a really helpful one in the end. And the last topic for today that we want to review for you guys, we do have our guest speakers, Jason and Travis, to speak on it more, but just so you can see it in the actual app, is inspection mode. So you click on the menu bar at the top left-hand corner. Okay, and the second to the top is DOT inspection mode. And here you're going to see begin inspection. So you can either just click on it and go right to your previous day's logs, or if you want to lock your screen so that when you hand it over to the officer, they can't go through your KeepTruckin app, you can click on the begin inspection mode and hold it. If you hold onto it, it'll bring you to this access code page. And here it's going to ask you for a 4-digit PIN that you create so that only you know how to get out of inspection mode. So it's going to ask you to confirm it. And once you confirm it, it will give you your logs for today and the past 7 days. At that point, the officer can go through and look at your logs. And then at the top right-hand corner up here where those 3 dots are, you have the option to send or print them for the officer. If you want to send them, it'll give you the option to type in an email or to fax it. So in order to do this, you will need internet or cellular service to have these sent, if that's what the officer wants you to do. And as you can see here, it'll tell you exactly what it's emailing. So it's emailing 15 logs and 1 inspection. Okay, so that is your DOT inspection mode. And now we're going to just let you know that if you ever have any issues with any of these pieces or topics that we've gone over, please refer to our help and support line. Here in your own app, you can see there is a help and support section where you can, actually I should just go over that really quick with you guys before we get out of it. So if you go ahead and type in, or let's see, go to help and support. What you can do is you can actually type in what it is you're trying to look for. So if I'm like, how do I edit my log? I can type it in and it'll give me all of the topics that they already have in here for you to use. So you can select your question and then it'll give you videos and tutorials and step-by-step instructions on how to do something. So if you have any other questions on it, or you don't get what you need from those videos or those tutorials, you can click the Contact Us at the top right-hand corner, and it'll send you to a place where you can send an email directly to our support line. And if you don't want to go ahead and send an email, you can always come and chat with us or phone us or email us. All right. So now that you guys have had your tour of the KeepTruckin app, we're going to hand it on over to Travis and Jason to go over your driver's rights in AOBRD mode.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Chelsea, for that in-depth overview of the use and navigation of the app. A lot of good stuff there. And I'll jump right in. We've gotten at least a couple of questions already regarding what exactly the output file sends and how it is done. So, Jason, if you would like, I can. You know what?
We don't even need to go through this.
Yeah, we're not even going over it. I'm glad that I brought this up because the topic for this particular webinar is what is required under the AOBRD regulation. A good time to kind of go over an overview here. The grandfather clause that allows people to use AOBRDs puts the different regulation that folks have to be using or have to be compliant with as 395.15. I like to describe 395.15, the AOBRD regulation, is basically the ELD regulation with fewer things that you have to do. So there's just less definition, and that offers a good bit of customization that you can do with your device. Not a tremendous bit, but a good bit. Specifically, the most importantly, in my opinion, is the fact that you do not have to send an output file. So I'm not going to go over an output file during this webinar. I will let you know that we've got other ELD compliance mode specific webinars that you'll be able to search for and find right here on our channel on YouTube, as well as I believe we're going to put them on other social media that we've got put out there. So specifically with the AOBRD regulation, the most important thing that everybody needs to remember if they're running AOBRDs is that you need to know and specifically identify anytime you have an interaction with an officer that you are running an automatic onboard recording device. The reason is that is going to control the interaction that you have with the officer. If you tell the officer that you are running an automatic onboard recorder, then that officer will know and that inspector will know that you are only required to show that information that is required under 395.15, which again is a lot less specific than 395 Part B, which is the ELD statute, or the ELD regulation, I should say. So what do you do if you're on the roadside? First thing, you tell the officer, this is an AOBRD. I have an AOBRD. I am running in compliance with 395.15. When the officer is put on notice that that is the case, then you will go into your DOT inspection mode, exactly how Chelsea has just shown you. And when you're in that DOT inspection mode, you'll be able to confirm that you are operating an automatic onboard recording device by seeing that there is not an option to transfer and data output file. There will only be the options to display your logs as well as email or fax your logs. So you will go into the DOT inspection mode, just as Chelsea showed you. You will lock your app, just as Chelsea showed you. And then you will give the officer access to your 7 days logs or your 7 previous and today's logs in the manner that they would like to have it. At that point, you've done what you are required to do. You should not have to provide anything else to the officer. You are not required to provide any other documentation than that. I, however, do advise, in these circumstances, when you're on the roadside, you need to be polite. You don't get defensive. Don't get sharp with these folks. It's important that everybody understand and realize that we are all trying to get through this together. It is difficult to, these two regulations operate in sometimes kind of conflict with each other, and not all inspectors understand all of the nuances between the two. So, it's important that we be polite and we all understand that everybody's learning how to get through this situation all in the same way.
Thanks, Charles, for that really concise answer. But
anything to add, Jason? By all means.
I give him a hard time, but it is extremely important to know what you need to do when you do get pulled over, and it's making sure that you understand which compliance setting you are in. If you're in AOBRD mode, please make sure to tell the officer that. We've already had a couple customers who have said that they are in ELD mode when they were not, and it caused more confusion, caused more issues. So just make sure that you understand that and you're able to communicate that to an officer.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, so now we're moving into our Q&A section.
30 minutes on the nose.
Wow.
So we're going to go ahead and start right off the bat with, I think, the most important question or not important, but the most common question that we've gotten so far, which is, when will the 15 miles per hour vehicle threshold be available? Jason, can you go ahead and respond for this one?
Sure. So this is something that our engineers are working on right now. We hope to release it toward the end of Q1 of this year, so that you guys can have it available. But the important thing to remember is that there is no threshold for AOBRD mode. There's nothing that specifies it has to be at a certain limit. The only guidance that the legislation gives is that drive time has to be automatically recorded. So in its current state at 5 miles per hour, it is 100% compliant. It's an important thing to note. Nothing. Our number one goal is to make sure that you guys stay compliant, so you guys don't have any issues at all with any DOT officer, and they'll actually be pretty happy that you're stating that you're at 5 miles per hour threshold. Now we will release the feature that will allow a fleet manager to go in and toggle this threshold to go to 15 miles per hour. So this is something that we promised, something that we knew would take longer, which is why it isn't out yet. And that's what we've always communicated, that it wouldn't be out right away, but it is something that we do plan to release.
And I'll follow up with that. Jason, thank you. I think it's very important to note that just because the threshold is set at any particular area, it doesn't change, as Jason indicated, the requirement that drive time be automatically recorded, and the requirement that all your drive time be logged correctly. So, and it also, in my opinion, is not the most important feature of an automatic onboard recording device. The most important feature is that you don't have to transfer a data output file as you would be under the ELD mandate. But a couple of other interesting and important features of an automatic onboard recorder are that you don't have to display unassigned drive time on the roadside, and you are capable of, after a driving event, changing the driving event from an on-duty driving event to an off-duty driving event, or to a yard move. So those are features that I think offer real, tangible customization, rather than the mile per hour threshold for what would trigger what a driving event is.
And I think it's important to note too that the spirit of the legislation is that it's supposed to, all drive time is supposed to be recorded. And I know this can be frustrating, and we completely understand that the issue is not with the mandate itself, it's with the hours of service regulations that have been put forward by the FMC and the unrealistic expectations that they have set for all of you. We 100% stand for that and agree with you in that way. So in these moments where, it's frustrating that the ELD will get triggered into drive time for you, by the rules, by the way that the legislation was laid out, it's supposed to be recorded that way. And so this is something that we are just staying in line with the FMCSA in that way. And we don't agree with it, but it is what they have put forward. So we want to make that pretty clear. And we are working to, make it better for you guys and help you guys out, because we understand how frustrating it can be.
That's right. Thanks, Jason.
Okay, and if anyone got lost during that response, it will be available within the next coming months here. We will have a release date, and when we do, we will make sure to send it to everyone so that everyone is on the same page. When we know, you will know. Okay? The next question we have here is, does the ELD have to be on top of the dash, or can it be moved lower, out of the way?
So this has actually been a little tricky, because we have heard various things from various FMCSA agents on this. Some say that the ELD has to be mounted. Others say just the phone does, and even more, and even others say that both have to be mounted. Now, in terms of performance, it's best if it's on the dashboard, just because you're going to get the best GPS reading. But it kind of is up to the FMCSA officer. We recommend it, that it's mounted on the dashboard, just in case they want it mounted so that they can easily see it. But some FMCSA officers might not care. Basically, we recommend it. It'll get you better data anyway, so you might as well do it.
Yeah, as Jason is right. We've gotten a lot of conflicting answers from different field offices and officers with regard to this question. In the near future, again, I think that it's important to note we are all kind of learning as we go here, and the landscape is going to continue to take more solid form as we move forward. It is very true that the mandate requires that an ELD be a portable ELD be mounted in a fixed position. However, we're here talking about automatic onboard recording devices, and the area here is going to be a little more gray. As far as the functioning of our device, it does function best when the box is mounted on top of the dashboard, so that it can maintain a connection with the with GPS satellites, and that's what we recommend.
Thank you. Okay, what about teams driving the vehicles? How would they use the ELD for team drivers?
Yeah, so we get this question quite a bit, because we do have quite a bit of owner operators and quite a bit of team drivers that use us, and we try to make it as easy as possible for you guys to to use the ELD if you're in the same truck. And the easiest thing to do is, if you have two devices, you basically, the person who's going to be driving is the one who connects to the vehicle, and then when they're done driving, they leave the vehicle, they disconnect from it basically through the app, and then the other driver who's about to go in and start driving will then go in and connect to that ELD. It's as simple as that. And basically this ensures that the driver who is driving is the one who's getting the drive time. Just making sure that not all the drive time is associated with one driver, which can get you into trouble. So we try to make it so that you guys can easily stay compliant and don't have any issues at roadside.
Thanks, Jason. The next question we have here is, if you are running as an AOBRD, do the drivers need to be enabled for ELD mode? If so, they only have an option to connect to the truck.
That is a very important distinction, and it's something that has led to some degree of confusion for a lot of folks. Enabling in our system, enabling a driver for ELD mode only means that the driver can connect his or her device that they're using to keep their logs, that they're using that's installed with the application. It only means that you can connect that device to the box that's in the vehicle, to the device, or to the box that is plugged into the diagnostic port, plugged into the ECM. That's all it means. It does not mean that the device that you're using at any given time is an ELD or an AOBRD. We just state it that way because it's the simplest way, and it's just the way that we've said it. It's not a term of art. It simply means that you can connect to the box. I suppose that's a relatively clear way to explain that. Yeah.
Yep,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So right here it says, someone commented how, when they go to select their vehicle, they don't want it to show other drivers and their truck information in the vehicle select. So just to clarify, when you go to select your vehicle, it's only going to show the names of the vehicles or the vehicle IDs. It's not going to show any driver information or truck information. All it's going to show, again, is the truck name or truck ID. And that's whatever's listed within your own company's fleet. Okay, the next question we have here is, please explain how the app calculates the 8 and 2 sleeper berth split.
The short answer, which I'm sure Jason will be very happy with, is according to the rules, according to the regulations, and it does. It works. Obviously, if you want a long explanation as to what the 8-2 sleeper berth provision does and how it works, that's a bit longer and more complicated a discussion and possibly one better suited for a different webinar. However, it does properly calculate under the hours of service rules the use of the 8-2 sleeper berth split. and I'll essentially just leave it at that. It does so because our engineers are geniuses, and they designed it the correct way.
I worked with them to ensure that that they were following exactly how it was laid out within the legislation. So when they were actively building this and creating the rules around this, they were on their other computer screen. They were physically looking at the rules. So it should be 100% in line with exactly how it's laid out.
So, for instance, if you take a 2-hour break, it has to be an off-duty or sleeper berth for the 2-hour, and then you start driving again. Correct me if I'm wrong, it may show you in violation, but once you complete the 8 hours, and the 8 hours have to be in sleeper berth, it'll correct, or it'll take you out of violation at that point once you've completed those 8 hours, correct?
Once you do the 8 and the 2,
yeah.
it will not show a violation.
Right.
It's able to pick up.
Right, exactly. So I just want to make sure that you guys understand that if you are intending to use that, you know, the 8 and the 2, that you have to complete both for it to take you out of that violation. Until you complete it, it could show you in violation for going over your shift time. The next question we have here, which I actually think is a pretty easy but important one, will this video be available for our drivers after the live stream? And the answer is yes. It will be available on our Keep Trucking YouTube channel for you guys to view at any time. Okay, the next question we have here, can drivers or fleet managers edit the drive line?
No. Ever. I should say, if they do, then it's illegal. And if you cannot, and have a compliant log, you cannot shorten the amount of time that has been automatically logged on line 3. You just simply can't do it. I know that there are devices, and I know that there are devices and there are providers that have AOBRDs on the market, or at least this is the information that's being relayed to me, that allow for editing of the third line. But I also know that to edit the third line is illegal, and that is why we do not allow it. It can't be done on our system because it can't be done legally. So that's the long answer. The short answer is no, not with Keep Truckin.
The only thing you can do is reclassify drive time as personal conveyance or yard move. But that does not include editing drive time. That is something that the FMCSA is very clear about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys. Hey, guys, I just want to note we are still getting questions about the output file on here. If you missed it prior, in AOBRD, you are not required to provide an output file. With an AOBRD, you only need to show today's and the past 7 days logs in the inspection mode.
And if your fleet is in ELD mode, we did a whole webinar earlier today that'll be made available to you guys on our YouTube channel, so you guys can go back and watch that if you missed it.
Right. Okay. If I am using the app without an ELD, can I save my truck number? So if you're using your KeepTruckin app and you don't have an ELD installed in your vehicle, all you have to do is go into your log form and type the vehicle number in that vehicle space or the vehicle field. Okay. Our next question here looks like something regarding. Okay. What are the rules on miles traveled for shop purposes, miles driven by shop personnel?
This sounds to me like a question about yard moves,
Mm-hmm.
And the proper use of yard moves. I'll be very specific, and then I'll be more general. Specifically to your question, it sounds like you're asking if there is a particular distance that can be logged, or a particular number of miles that can be logged on as a yard move on duty parentheses driving, but not, it's basically just on the on-duty line, parentheses driving. There's not a total number of miles that can be logged as a yard move. However, there also is not any definition in the regulations or any guidance that's been published that I'm aware of that defines what a yard is or what a yard move is. So it's left to reasonable interpretation and a reasonable use of the yard or of this special driving status.
Okay, thanks, Travis. Next question.
So the next question is, if I am using a tablet, does it need to have internet service with it, or can it just be a tablet without any wireless plan? So we recommend that you have internet service on the tablet or mobile device that you are using, just so that you can get the most up-to-date information to your fleet manager so that they can get all that information in real time. Now, is it required? No, it is not. As long as you are syncing at the end of the day, whenever you get to your shipper receiver, or you get back to your own back office, you can then sync and upload all the data. Now, like I said, we encourage you to have data on your device, but if you do not, it still works.
Okay, next question we have here. I think there might be a little confusion. It says, when the vehicle is in service and cable is unplugged from the port, what is recorded and what must I note and where? So if the ELD is unplugged from the port, it will not collect any data, and you'll have to eventually connect it to get any of that information. So just make a note that if you do not have the ELD plugged in, we're not going to be able to have any data showing from the ELD itself. Okay, next question. How do you create a 4-digit PIN for the DOT inspection mode?
Well, it's easy. When you jump into DOT inspection mode, and Chelsea, if you want to jump onto it, and maybe we can show them in real time. Yeah. 10 phone calls.
Someone's popular.
It's popular over here.
All right. So now that we're in DOT inspection mode, go ahead, Travis.
And you'll click and hold the begin inspection button. Click and hold, because that will put you into this screen where it will allow you to input a 4-digit PIN. It will then ask you to confirm that 4-digit PIN. And at that moment, you will be locked. You will be locked into this screen, and there won't be any other way, or there won't be any other view that an officer would be able to see within the app, except for the logs. Essentially, they can't go back and look at your logs. They can't look at your edits or the back screen that you get to generally see.
Right. So in order to get out of DOT inspection mode, if the driver or if the officer tried to get out, it would just take him back to the logs unless he knows your code. So at that point, you can go ahead and type it in when the inspection is done, and it'll take you out of the inspection mode.
This would be a good opportunity to point out that we would always suggest using a password that's not 1111. That is not Chelsea's password, by the way. Yeah, that's how that function works.
Okay.
Yep. And so basically, they only have access to the last 7 days. That's it. If you're in the DOT inspection mode lock, they will not be able to access anything else within the app. So it's a good way to ensure that a DOT officer has no access to anything else in the app.
Okay. So we can only have time for a few more questions here. So the next one we're going to have here is, let's see here. We'll do one more. Okay, so I'm trying to call into the support line. What can they help me with?
Well, our support line, our 24-hour support, is technical. It's troubleshooting. It is essentially any problem that you have with the ELD with the function of it. If you have any questions about how to use it, if you're confused about installation of these AOBRDs, of these devices, frankly, if you just want to talk to somebody, you can give them a call. They're happy to answer the phone. They're available 24/7, and they're available for, as I said, any purpose that's related to our ELDs. They're all KeepTruckin employees, and they are all absolute pros and absolute experts with all things KeepTruckin and our device.
Thanks, Travis. There's actually a great question on here that I think is really good to know. It says, towns and cities that I drive by all the time that are hardly towns aren't on the map, or and when crossing borders, and it's not recognized for location statuses. Does someone want to kind of talk about how they're recorded?
So the town or city that is listed on the log, it sometimes shows a small town or something like that. When you're in it, sometimes it can be confusing because it's like 3.2 miles from such and such town. And the reason why we do this is because the mandate actually explicitly states what towns or cities can be classified as being on your log. So they actually have standards for the towns and cities. If they reach a certain population, they have to be marked down. So when you're passing by it, if you're closest to a town that is within that requirement, it will be listed, and it'll say however many miles from that town.
Right.
So
I don't mean to interrupt, but I actually do very much mean to interrupt, because that's the only way that could happen. Jason is right. Generally, the ELD mandate upon which, or by which, we built all of our functions requires that automatically generated location data be linked to a database that has all cities, towns, and villages in the country with a population of 5,000 or greater. So that's why when we generate automatically the locations, it will be in reference to the nearest town with a population of 5,000 or greater. That's essentially it. That's not a requirement for AOBRDs, to my recollection, but that's how our system works, because it's just easier that way. And if you want to be more specific, I don't know. I'm not aware of anything that would prevent you from being more specific or more descriptive.
Thanks, Travis. We have one more question here. Someone is asking, I understand the current requirement for a reset for 24 hours and 34 like before. How can I change that on my app? It keeps showing 34 hours restart. So if you go ahead and go into your KeepTruckin app, you'll see here on the menu on the left, one that says settings. And then it's going to go ahead and show under log cycle rules. Now, keep in mind that some of you guys are owner operators. Others are part of much larger companies or fleets. If your fleet manager or fleet admin has put a setting to have those locked for the entire company, then you will not be able to change anything in your settings. So you will have to ask your manager or your safety manager to make that change on their end. However, if you are an owner operator, you can go ahead and just come into the log section and click in the settings and click on cycle rules. And here you will see the cycle rules selected for your cycle. And at the bottom, it'll say 34-hour restart or 24-hour restart. You just click the one that you want, click save, and then you can go back up to your logs. Okay, so that's how you change your rules for your restart. And I think that's all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. We know that entering the world of ELDs and AOBRDs and the mandate has been a rough transition for a lot of you, and Keep Trucking is trying to be here as much as we can to help you with this transition. So we're going to be trying to throw a lot more webinars up in the near future. If there's any topics or areas that you guys think that would be most helpful for everyone, please send in those suggestions because that's why we're here for you guys. So thank you, Travis. Thank you, Jason, for being here. And to all you drivers out there, please drive safe and keep on trucking.